We'll now take a quick look at file locking. The concept of file locking within Subversion is slightly different to other version control systems. Specifically, users are able to lock files which other users are not allowed to commit against until that lock is opened or broken. So if I check out a file and lock it, I can then make my changes and be fairly safe in the knowledge that that no other changes will be made and committed back to the repository until I check my file back in. However, the locks themselves are not unbreakable, and so should somebody else check out my file and decide they want to commit back even though it's locked, they are able to do that within Subversion by forcing the breaking of the lock. Of course, that will be maintained within the log, so everyone will know that the lock was forcibly broken, and so it's fundamentally down to etiquette between the various developers to discuss who owns and who maintains the locks, and different companies will have different policies on the usage of those locks. So I can, within the team menu, lock a file, and effectively what we're doing is setting a property on the file, which means we're changing it within the repository, which means we need to have a commit message. So taking lock to do some development, and the file is now locked. You'll notice within the Project Explorer that the icon is now shown with a little padlock, so that we know that the file is locked through. There are two ways of maintaining those locks. You can effectively keep that lock across commits, or, and the default for Subversion is that every time you do a commit, the lock is effectively released so that others can then continue doing the work, so you don't effectively keep the lock forever or until you explicitly say, I don't need this anymore. So, for example, if I just add one more comment into my system and I save the file, you'll see here the checkbox which says keep locks. So if I have a lock on the file, the default is not to keep the lock, as I mentioned. However, you can force the lock to be kept across the commit, and you check that box if you wish to do so. So what I'll do is I'll do the commit, and you'll see that the lock is now effectively broken. If I get the lock back, so I have the lock back. Should I decide actually that the work I'm doing will not impede anybody else and everybody else should be able to commit while I'm doing my work, I can of course manually release that lock by going to Team and Unlock. Similarly, other people may be setting and releasing locks while I'm doing my development in my working copy, so it's always useful to understand what the lock status is of your project, and I can, within the team menu, scan for locks, so it effectively always makes sure that I understand what the lock status is of the various files within my working copy.